Hi guys, and welcome to Wrestling Fan Open Mind Night. Thank you ever so much for tuning in. If you are new to this very channel, you're more than welcome to hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon so you be in and updated anytime when I do any videos. Now, here on Wrestling Fan Open Mind Night, I like to give honesty towards professional wrestling, and I don't like sugarcoating shit when I see shit. I'll tell you it straight, and that's why people keep coming back. Now, I just want to say to every one of you guys, massive thank you for you guys hitting that play button. Quite honestly, I am still working on the setup. I'm really dead set on doing it because obviously my desk is built now, my chair's been built. It's going to take me a bit of time to obviously get the full setup, but you got to understand I've got to save towards my August trip when I go for All In weekend. I've got 4 wrestling shows. Yeah, 4 wrestling shows. And yes, there is going to be a vlog. I'm debating whether to do it in 4 different parts because obviously it's 4 different wrestling shows. And probably an after party if we get myself and Paddy and maybe TNS Attitude as well. Obviously getting tickets for that. I want to actually say to you guys that I want to point this out and I can get this off my chest now, right? I don't care about people that are in attendance that is going to be at All In because I see people talk about All In not selling well, but you got to think that there's no matches confirmed whatsoever for that. You got to stress this. There's over 24,000 tickets sold at the moment. And that's a massive achievement because even though Wembley Stadium is a massive venue or stadium, you got to understand that it's a massive achievement for them to achieve what they've already achieved. Yeah, it may be down on the previous years when All In went to Wembley, but you got to understand this. There's no matches confirmed yet, but you got to think this long and hard. This is when people are one trick minded because they always compare it with the likes of WWE and the WrestleManias and so on like that. And I want to say this: you cannot compare it because yes, All In went to Texas last year, but you cannot compare Wembley Stadium with with fucking ticket sales towards how many they sell compared to when no matches are confirmed because it doesn't make any valid sense. I can understand if WWE did a pay per view or PLE as it's known as now. I'm old school, that's why I still occasionally call it pay per view for you guys at home. I want to point this out to every one of you guys is if they were selling in the same venue, let's see how many tickets they sell. Because at the moment, all I see is this. It's not because no matches are confirmed. We know full well the current storylines of unfolding towards the next PLE. And obviously, that's, I think it's 90 champions. I lose track because obviously Money in the Bank's pushed back till the winter months now, which doesn't make any sense because end of the day you've got to think this, right, guys, that when we look at the bigger picture of certain things what WWE is at the moment, I'll be honest with you, it's not as that great as it once was. That what I fell in love with American wrestling. Yes, WWF was my old school um, sort of heritage in that lot to watch professional wrestling, and I've obviously watched other companies since, and obviously within this past year, I've not looked back and think, oh God, I need to start watching the weekly products or the PLEs. And I want to say this: I love when I see the likes of Dirt Sheets and that lot saying the reason why SmackDown's not selling well because it's clashing with the England game, right? I want to say this: you cannot make that an excuse. You cannot make that excuse. Less than 5,000 people have bought tickets. I've been stressing this in my videos for a while now, here on YouTube as well as TikTok. It's the pricing structure. And the product is not that great. You got to be honest with yourself. You're kicking yourself if you're saying it's fucking awesome stuff. You don't need to brown nose WWE anymore. You need to stand up and be honest with you. A lot of people are feeling the pinch, quite honestly, and that's why people are not invested into the tickets. Because you got to realize SmackDown was sprung on as wrestling fans out of the blue, and you've not gave people enough time to save, let alone from the last UK tour. You know, in the back in the day when they did the UK tours, this is over pretty much 2 decades ago now, right? You used to do one in the spring, you did one in the winter, you made it affordable. Now you're literally dropping shows into the United Kingdom out of the blue, like for a Raw or a SmackDown, and quite honestly, it could be about 3 or maybe 4 tours a year now. You after that money where you think your market is at the moment, and I feel like you're losing your market here in the United Kingdom, and that's me being honest with you. I feel like you are losing it because of the prices you are charging. Put it into perspective to everyone that is actually watching this. I'm not here to hinder WWE, it's constructive criticism. And that's the problem where it lies when it comes to WWE, they can't handle it. You know, but at the end of the day, do we actually really care? Does it affect the product when there's hardly anyone in the crowd? You look at Clash of Italy, right? A lot of that was topped off, and that's me being honest. What I've seen of clips, you know, they need to wake up to reality and see what's working and what's not in the current product. That's where it lies. And was it the downfall when John Cena retired from the company? Have they failed to make new household names? That's the problem where it lies. You got to realize what's going off with WWE. If they're literally having this palaver, this problem, they can't shift tickets in the United Kingdom like they once did. I can remember the days when Raw and SmackDown used to sell out before I even got a chance to even go to any of them. And that's just showing you how much the product has changed. To the old excuse when they used to say the product was bad because there was appealing to shareholders. Now it's on Netflix and people thought, oh, it's going to be a lot different. It's not that different, if not worse, from the product. And that's just me being honest with you guys. And I'm just sitting here thinking, what could WWE to do any different to draw the crowds back that fell out of the love of professional wrestling? And people say, "Oh, it's because people have grown out of watching professional wrestling." It's not the case because it's quite honestly, you got to think this. You've got to think long and hard before you say anything. You can't think of an excuse other than just saying, "Oh yeah." Because it's clashing with England's World Cup game. I'm not being funny. Not all wrestling fans are football fans or soccer fans, are they? So you can't use that as an excuse going forward because, quite honestly, it dumbfounds me when people use that. How could you use that as an excuse to say the reason why tickets are not selling that well? You know, it it dumbfounds me when people say that. Is it because when you say not many people are watching the product when the football season in the United States, the pigskin one? Or is it because of the hockey season? End of the day, right? You're entitled to whatever you spend your money on, but you got to think realistically. Where I've seen a load of people now speaking out against WWE, like saying they've checked out AEW for the first time, and the likes of Mick Foley is being called a sellout because he went to the likes of AEW, and the problem where it lies is because where he literally says AEW's helped him rekindle the love of professional wrestling once again. You're entitled to your own opinions, you know, but deep down as a wrestling fan, deep down in your heart, you got to think: is it worth investing into a ticket to go to SmackDown, or Raw, or a PLE? Because I can't get my head around it. I really can't. And this isn't me comparing with AEW because before people think about it. But I just want to say this: at least one thing they can actually say, they make their shows affordable. You know, I'm going to Wembley. I'm going to independent shows over that weekend. It still doesn't equivalent to including my hotel, including my coach fare. It doesn't total the amount what they pay for ringside now at house shows, let alone Raw or SmackDown. They've got to realize, right? This is where the market was once. Once had the biggest market for professional wrestling. Like I've mentioned, they used to sell at Raw, they used to sell at SmackDown, they used to sell at NXT. You know, just at the moment, I feel like when you look at the current product, why are you rehashing with Roman Reigns? You know, why are you playing it safe with the likes of Cody Rhodes? You know, something's not hitting right for the wrestling fan market, and that's just me being honest with you. Hand on heart, I really don't know what's going off, what WWE is doing wrong. Because yes, I've only seen clips, and I'm thinking you're rehashing stuff that it is flat, it's boring, it feels like you're watching the same show every week. You know, and that's just me by just watching the clips. You've got talent there. I've done a video that has stated this. The women's division is carrying that company. Even though they don't use Liv Morgan often, you know, she's the current world champion. Even though the women's division is carrying that company, there's a lot of still teething problems with that division. You know, and that's just me being honest. I'm glad they promoted Salruka, but the problem where it lies, what they're going to do with her and the IC title. You're struggling to make that go-to guy of the company. It was built around Roman Reigns 4 years ago. Don't get me wrong. You built Cody Rhodes when he came back to the company, built around him. That's not working, is it? The problem where it lies when tickets do start to shift is when they randomly announce John Cena on the PLE. Then all of a sudden, he's not nowhere to be seen once again. Then it doesn't sell. It's mad to think that the people just buy a ticket to see like John Cena making an announcement more than focusing on what the weekly product is giving you. It's dark. I've not seen this much of a bad response towards WWE. Not just me, other creators, in a long, long time. It just really frustrates me. It really does when they are still trying to make excuses for their product. All because you're blaming the World Cup. You're going to blame that when the ratings are going to be down because everyone's going to the World Cup or watching the World Cup on the TV. You're going to use that as their excuse. It's just mad to think. That's just me being honest with you. Honestly, don't use that as an excuse. Really do not use that as an excuse. That's just me being honest. Tell me your thoughts.